You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Oh, Miss Rusty, what's happening, everybody? It is Tuesday, April 9th, 2024 here at 5:47 in the morning. Uh, I am going early. Well, I'm up anyway, but I'm doing an early recording because I have a guest here who is from Australia. So I've been talking about this before, and I really, you have to do some crafty timing of recordings, but it also opens it up to the whole world. So I mean, you can complain about, being 5:30 in the morning to record with someone, but you know, otherwise it's literally a day each way to travel there. So this is a lot better than that alternative. So welcome everybody to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. Uh, you know, straight out of Pennsylvania here, I guess, right now. And I just want to say thank you, everyone that's here and everyone that's listening. If you are listening and you want to watch the video, there's video of this. You can go onto YouTube or Rumble, whatever is your choice. You can do that. And if you are watching this and you love the content and you love the guest, but you don't want to look at my face, that's cool. I get it. I understand. You can go anywhere you listen to podcasts, probably most anywhere, and you'll find the podcast to listen to. So thank you everybody for being here and listening again. And it's time for me to bring on my special guest right here and right now. And my special guest right here and right now is Stefania Puleo. Thank you for being here, Stefania. How you doing?
I'm great, Rusty. How are you? Thank you
I
for
yeah,
getting up
can't
so early for me.
complain. I love it. I'm up anyway. I'm just trying to not I don't know. It's okay. Like 5:30, it's not bad. I've been up for I guess I woke up at 5. It was kind of later today. Usually I'm up at like 4 or so, but I think I'm still I don't know. I feel lazy waking up at 5 in the morning. It's almost too late. Got to
So
get
you've had
going.
it sleeping.
Yeah, I like to get going on the day and getting moving and getting a good jump, trying to get a lot of stuff done before everyone else is waking up and getting into that whatever it is they're doing. I like having that jump. I don't know
Me
why,
too.
but yeah. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So let's see. So yeah, so you're in Australia somewhere. What part of Australia are you in?
I'm in Melbourne.
Okay. So um I was looking at a map. I don't know how accurate it was, but how many different climates there are within
Mm,
within it. Um
Australia.
yeah. So then
Well,
yeah, go
yeah, I
ahead.
was just going to say, we have the north of Australia. Obviously, that's the tropical part. So that's a bit like Florida, I guess. You guys, would have the Florida state,
Yeah.
have Queensland, whereas I'm the opposite end, which is Melbourne down south, which is not as cold as New York.
Oh, okay.
Like we don't get snow. New York gets snow. We get
Right.
cold, but we get a lot of rain. So I don't know what state gets a lot of rain down your end. Is it
Yeah, I mean,
Seattle? That gets a very gets
yeah,
cold, but a lot of rain.
yep. Seattle gets a lot of rain. Yeah, I'm from over there. I'm from
Ah,
Portland, so yeah, it's like 2.5 hours from there. But yeah, lots and lots of rain over there. Um, so what do you do when it's raining out? What's kind of your go-to when you have the rainy days?
mhm. Well, interesting enough, as Melburnians, we don't mind the rain. We will still do whatever we have to do. I know in some places, some parts of the world, I know I've lived in, various parts, particularly down the south in Italy, and when it rains, everybody stops. No one goes out. They all whine. They all complain. Whereas here in Melbourne, we just like, okay, it's raining. We just take an umbrella or dress appropriately, get in the car and go where we have to go, run from place to place
Right.
if we have to, not to get wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just do what we have to do. We don't complain that much, life still goes on.
Yeah. I was gonna ask about the umbrella part. If an umbrella is something that, because yeah, up in Seattle or something, that people get upset if they see you wearing an umbrella. They're like, oh, okay, that's a tourist if they have an umbrella. If you see the person walking without an umbrella, like, oh, okay, that's someone from Seattle who just it's
Uh-huh.
just kind of everyday life, and it's like, okay, that's how that
Yeah.
works. But what brought you out to Italy then, or um,
Um, I did a trip where I just took off and I did Sri Lanka for 4 weeks. I did a spiritual journey um, of just touring the country, studying Buddhism, getting really acquainted with the culture. And yeah, I loved it. And then from Sri Lanka, I made my way to Portugal, spent 4 weeks there, and then moved over to Italy and went all the way from the north, Milan, traveled all the way down to south to Sicily. And that's where I just fell in love with the island. And I decided, you know what? I'd like to live here. So I did the thing. Have you seen the movie Under the Tuscan Sun?
no, I'm familiar with it, but I haven't seen it.
Right. It's where a woman from the States, I think she was from New York, she takes a one-way ticket and goes to Tuscany and makes Tuscany her home. She falls in love. I think she falls in love with the land, but then she falls in love with someone. But for me, I fell in love with the land. I really loved the island. I loved the weather. I loved the food. I loved the culture. And yeah, I just, you know, decided to stay. And the people were just amazing. And the interaction of, the genders in Sicily was just amazing too.
And
And that's where my whole, I guess, gentleman square started. My whole career of doing what I do actually initially started in Sicily, believe it or not.
so so then what was kind of the reason for getting up and going and just doing this? Was it kind of like drop everything and let's go over here? What was it that kind of prompted that?
Okay. Yeah, well that's interesting. Well, as Australians, we just don't care about travel. Like we can travel for miles. Like we will go 20 hours to get on the other side of the world and not think anything of it. And at the time, I was working as an English teacher, teaching English as a second language part-time, and I was working of an evening as a personal trainer. So I had two jobs and I was working very, very hard. And I I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a season off. I'm not going to work for 3 months and I'm just going to go. I'm going to go overseas. And I did. It was a 3-month trip, but I never came back. I actually stayed for 7 years.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So it wasn't a planned trip like I'm just going to get up and go and never come back. It was more like I'm going to go have a great time, get refreshed, and then come back. So I had 3 months off the uni I was working at. I was working at a university at the time, and they said, okay, take 3 months off. When you come back, you have a job. With my training, my personal training clients, I just handed them over to my colleagues, and I said, so and so will look after you. When I come back, we'll resume your program. And I never came back.
What happened with all your stuff?
Well, I rented my apartment out, furnished, and then I did come back after a couple of years, and then just vacated everything, sold all my furniture, and yeah, yeah, that was the end of that. Because the person that was renting, like taking over my lease, they decided to move on, but I had to come back to sort that out. So that's what brought me back for Christmas, sorted all that out, and then went back again.
And just like, okay, I'm good. I'm on my way back to Italy. To you
Mhm.
said Tuscany, right?
No, it was Sicily.
Sicily. Okay, so okay.
Under the Tuscan Sun was the movie. I
Gotcha.
should call it Under the Sicilian Sun, because Sicily is quite a very, you know, warm province. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's right in the Mediterranean.
And
Amazing.
yeah, and then so you were saying that um I would like to get over there. I feel like Mediterranean somewhere I need to go check out at some point. Like my yeah, like that kind of deal. And so then you had somewhat like I don't know, do you have some sort of event that kind of got you to get into what you're doing now, or did it take a little while to figure out? Because you said that was how it kind of set up what you're doing
Yeah.
now. Was it some
All right. So
singular
yeah,
event?
yeah. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about, how, I it all started. But it goes back a little bit further back than that, when with my first career. My first career was I was a hairstylist, and
Okay,
I
so
did that, yeah, for
yeah,
20 years,
okay.
2 decades.
The hairs. Okay, so then yeah, I mean you're already hearing everybody hearing everybody what they have to say. You're already kind of the I don't know what you would call that even.
Uh, 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 a psychologist that doesn't is not a psychologist. We are just great
Yeah,
sounding boards. As a hairstylist, everybody, you know, shares their deepest secrets with their hairstylist. And I would get
I,
all the hot gossip, and particularly the women. The women would just tell me amazing stories, some juicy gossip. And I'd hear the complaints. I'd hear all the, whining and complaints and whinging. And the men, I used to style both men and women's hair. The men didn't complain. The men would be more, less expressive. The women were the ones that really got into the details of things. So then from hairdressing, that's when I decided I want to, be a personal trainer. So I gave up hairdressing and became a personal trainer and went back to school as well. So then that's where I taught English as a second language, as well as personal training.
why'd you change?
I just felt like I needed a change. 20 years of hairdressing was a long time, and I'm very much into fitness. I loved, training myself, and I wanted to help others get fit and have healthier lifestyles. So it's really interesting how I started with the hairdressing, you know, the aesthetics of a person, of ourselves, hair, makeup, color tones. And then I moved into the body. And when I worked as a personal trainer, again, I would get a lot of stories from women and from men. But the men wouldn't tell me stories. Once again, they would ask me questions. The ladies would complain and say, if only he knew how I felt, if only he just understood what I'm feeling, if only, why is he just not understanding me? Like really, getting into deep, deep conversations and feeling frustrated. The men, on the other hand, they wouldn't complain. The men were more like, Stefania, what do you think? If I do this, do you think she's going to like it? Or do you think she's going to get upset if I say this? So they would ask me for advice and pick my brain as to what a woman would say or react to whatever they wanted to do.
So were you in a relationship at this time with someone?
Yes, I was. I was. And, I've had lots of relationships.
Right.
And interestingly enough, one of my relationships before I started, working with men, because then what happened was I started working with women and coaching women. So I went off and did a coaching course. So I was a personal trainer, I was a life coach, relationship coach, and and I combined fitness and getting into the mental, understanding
Yeah.
the psychology.
'Cause
But
it
then,
sounds, oh, go ahead.
sorry, no.
Uh, I was gonna say, 'cause it sounds like a romantic comedy or something set up right there with them asking like, so how do I, get a woman to, whatever, but then he's really talking about you, and then, one of those kind of things, and, but then, hilarity ensues, and, you end up on some sort of, I don't know, does that something like that ever happen? Is that ever, was that ever something, or
No,
was
no,
that
because with
okay,
with
it's
my with my
movies.
clients, I kept it very professional. They
That's
were
good.
clients.
So
No,
that
that
okay,
were
so
my
that was when they
clients.
were clients, okay.
Yeah,
They're
yeah. No,
actually
they knew
clients.
exactly that, where they stood with me, that was, not happening. And I never dated, never went out with any clients at all, I must say. Yeah, it just was one of my policies. And I guess too, I wasn't, there was no attraction in that way. But
Yeah,
I certainly did give a lot of advice. And then what happened was that's when I decided I want to go deeper and understand, you know, how the brain works and why people think the way they think and how we are stuck in behavioral patterns and thought patterns and beliefs. And that's when I, took my studies further and became a certified hypnotherapist.
okay. And so once you got there, then, what was the crossover like? What was the crossover um, for clients that you would have? Would that be you'd be having someone who come in for to work on some, I guess it's all of it work and everything working on themselves. So it just sort of blends together. Or were there other ones that would come in for one and then all of a sudden kind of get into both or get
Um,
fully into the other?
yeah, well, as the three major important areas of, you know, our lives is health, our relationships, and wealth, right? And they all spill into one another. If our relationships aren't right, well then, usually our health's affected. And if our health's affected, our wealth is affected because we can't work and be as productive. Or if, we're not making money, um, we get stressed and can get ill, and then that affects our relationships because we feel like we don't have enough money to, sustain relationships or even ourselves. So yeah, primarily, everything really works around the relationship part. And a lot of the the clients that I had, particularly when it came to the personal training, they were having relationship problems, relationship breakups, not being able to find the right partner, not being able to keep partners. And the women, as I said, I coached the women for a while, and I still coach women, but I just felt there was a need where men were not being made aware and guided in a way that to understand female psychology and female energy more than anything, which I think is really, really important. So in doing that, I thought, you know what? I'm going to help these men because they're feeling so frustrated. They're feeling lonely, feeling isolated, disconnected, and are going crazy because, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. What do I do? So
Right.
that's why I said, I'm going to do this. I know it's a bit of a challenge, and people say to me, Stefania, you're a woman. What would you know about a man? And I say, well, you're right. I don't know how a man feels in a man's body. I'm not a man, but I certainly know what a female feels like. And if I know how a female feels, and in the energy of a man, and how sometimes men and women communicate, men are more logical, more strategic, more compartmentalized. Women are more in their feelings, more in that emotional energy.
Right.
And if men are just shown or made aware of tapping into that, women then feel connected, because really that's what women want. We want to feel connected with our man. And if they can feel that, then they feel like, yeah, there's something happening. He understands me. And really, he just has to be able to be a good listener and be able to, you know, ask the right questions.
Right.
Now,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry. No, I was going to
Go
say, and people say, well, what are the right questions? Well, that also depends on what conversation you're having. But the secret is, I always say to men, the secret is to be curious, not to try and fix things or fix her or fix the problem. Yeah, because women don't want to be fixed. They want to feel connected.
Yeah. And so, but then there's that disconnect of the part that, it's natural to want to fix. And like if, it's, you're saying a problem, like, well, yeah, here's what you do. This is all you got. You do this and, things will be good. But then you're saying that's not what the women want for the most part. And I mean, would that work? I don't know. I don't know if I would see that working with if it was reversed, like if it was a man saying that uh a man being a relationship coach for women as much. I don't know if I would feel that there would be a lot of a lot more questions and a lot less credibility if it was kind of reversed. Is that something that you see in the field, or is that something that happens really? Because I don't know. I'm not. I've had um, women relationship coaches. I've had a few of them, but they've all worked with women, so I haven't really had any that. I mean, they work some with men, but it's mainly working with women. So is that something that happens often, or what do you think with that?
What happens often is that men kind of are, are delivering the information differently to women. Like, I'm not quite understanding the question. Sorry,
So like
Rusty.
if a man was a relationship coach for a woman, like
Yes.
you won't see that nearly as much. Like, or I don't know. I feel like there wouldn't be. Uh, I feel it'd be more like, oh, what does he know about
Okay, yeah,
coaching
I
a
get it. I
woman?
get it. And you see, that's my point. Um, having men coach women, what they're doing, they're bringing it home from a man's perspective to a woman.
Right.
And they're saying, well, this is how a man feels. So when you're doing this, you're repelling, he's repelling from you, like you're too clingy or too. So a man will show and guide a woman as to how to work with male energy, right?
Right.
Because he's a man. He's a man. He knows what men are attracted to, and he knows what men kind of are repelled from. So I guess on my end, I'm doing the same thing, but in the opposite. As a female, I'm telling men and helping them to read between the lines, particularly with women, because women, let's face it, we're a little complicated, right? I won't
Sure.
be the first one to agree with that, you know. We've got a whole lot going on. Hormonally, we're drama queens sometimes, we overreact, we want to express ourselves and expect our men to understand us first pop. There's a lot of things going on. That's not to say that women don't need to work on themselves too, right?
Right.
However, if men can learn to work with that energy rather than clash with it, because it's not what they're used to. They're men. Male energy is different. Yeah. So if they
Yeah.
can understand it, work with it better, and I can help them read between the lines, and read the red flags, the yellow flags, the green flags. Sometimes we overlook even the green flags because we're so concentrated on, what's always gone wrong in our lives. So we tend to be a little bit less trusting.
And
So yeah,
so
that's how I can bring it from that direction.
is that where hypnosis comes in to play sometimes with that part, being able to, um, yeah, be able to kind of take down those shields of sorts, whether it's for their own protection, what they think is their own protection, or have something that happened that they probably need to work through anyway. Then that's when hypnosis comes in. Is that what kind of happens?
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you know, because you're a hypnotherapist yourself, a lot of our behaviors, a lot of the way we, think things through, our filtering system is something that's been created from not just now, from way back. And whatever was modeled to us by our parents, whatever possible, trauma we may have experienced also in earlier life, we have this what's called transference. We take this past event and relive it in the present unknowingly because it's in our subconscious mind. And it surfaces through a trigger that's being that's happening in this current relationship, and we're like, oh my god, how could she have done this to me? And she's she's just like the rest of the women I've dated, and I've just attracted another toxic woman, or whatever the story may be.
Right. Uh, And that's when you say, "Oh, well, okay, let's take a step back here. Let's take a step back and look at this. What, maybe it's not them. Maybe it's something we get to work on together." And then, change your whole outlook on life, change your life right there. Why not? Why not? And so does that become sort of like an overwhelming type of deal for the clients when you say that? Because I could see some people being freaked out by that, but I mean, me, I'm like, yeah, yeah, let's do that. Like if I can change what's going to happen in the future for the better here and be able to, work through something that's obviously having me attracting the wrong kind of people. Like, yeah, let's do that. But are people ever hesitant in that part, or it seems that they start to get defensive at that point?
Okay, so let's take
It's
it
a
back a
lot.
little bit. Yeah, that's a lot to consume all in like one sitting. And I know we're kind of going a little deep now because I guess two hypnotherapists talking to each other. However, the process of getting to that, there's a lot of unpacking, a lot of peeling back of layers and working through what's happening now in the present or of the last, 5 years, the 10 years. What's the pattern? So the client gets to see also the pattern that they've been falling into. That's all unveiled. So they get to see themselves. I don't get to say it straight out to them. It's a discovery. The whole journey is a discovery of, wow, look at the journey I've been on and look at the patterns and look at the repetitive patterns I've been falling, the cycles that just seem to be perpetually, just repeating themselves.
Right. And
So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
no, no, no. I was just going to say, so when you see a cycle, and it's very easy for us to be pointing fingers and saying it's that person, it's this person, they're at fault. However, no one does anything to us unless we allow them, right?
Right.
So you're getting hurt all the time, or you're getting rejected all the time, or you're feeling, you know, being treated poorly. We also have to understand that we have to take responsibility that we've played a part in that, right?
Right. And which is
Where have I played the part?
yeah, and it can be a hard truth. It can be a hard one, but I mean it's like it's something that's such a simple concept, but so life altering to know that and know that then that's something that you can work on with someone and not like with someone, that like working with a hypnotherapist or something to that effect. And um yeah, I mean just how that can change your life dramatically. Just even just having that knowledge that like, oh shit, this is something that I do need to work on, that it's gonna help me a lot. I'm the problem. It's not these
Mm,
other people. These other people aren't great, but I'm attracting these people. These people are
mm.
attracted to something that I'm putting out there.
Right. And I wouldn't say I'm the problem. Like I wouldn't be that harsh on myself. And I, certainly let clients know that you just got to understand that, okay, it why it's like, I guess it's like a bee that goes to certain pollen, right? To pollinate. Why does it keep going to certain flowers or certain plants? There's a
True.
reason why. And hypnotherapy or the other modalities that I use is a journey in discovering what it is and healing that area of your life, getting rid of that splinter so it doesn't hurt anymore. And when the pain is big enough, I think anyone will want to do something, try anything that just remove that pain, because it's being lonely or being in a cycle of unhealthy relationships is really painful. And
Right.
I'm sure the audience would agree, anyone out there that's listening that's been in that, it's very painful and it's a lonely road. And we're not meant to be on our own. We
And
all deserve good relationships.
so how do you get people before they get to that point? Or is that possible? I mean, like it seems like for the most part, that's usually when the people are going to reach out to you once they're at a point where it's like I give up, like I don't know what else I could do, but like how would you get someone a year before then to reach out and say, "Oh, I'm starting to feel this." I don't know how often that is. It just seems like it's usually um later on in that journey where they're at a point where like, "Oh, I need to do something about this right now."
Exactly. And how do I do it? Well, I don't. I don't.
Huh.
I pretty much just you know, allow people to just go through their journey. We can't make anyone do anything. We can certainly share what it's like to have that amazing relationship, and I think too, when the pain is big enough, when we've really had enough, then we're going to move. We're going to do something.
Right. And so then how long will like, or let's see, how much time, I guess, is spent getting to the healing of that part that's already like at the kind of the last leg of what's going on to where they're able to, get to a positive rather than getting back to a baseline. Does that make sense? Like once they're kind of into a baseline where they can start to, I guess that their new baseline, where they can start to heal more, as opposed to just healing from, but I guess more healing towards something new. Does that make sense? Not a
I
great
think so.
description.
How long does it take? Well, everyone's different. And of course, like anything, how much work are you willing to put in? Right. And
Right,
of course, when I work with my clients, I'm here to inspire them, motivate them, guide them, but I can't do all the work for them. Yeah, I can only
right.
do a certain part, and they have to put in their part. A bit like, when I was personal training in the gym, I could get people changing, transforming their bodies because they wanted that. They wanted to create a new look for themselves. And we have a process. Everyone, is different. Everything's taken into account because, we do a bit of an inventory. And I also get to understand at what pace people want to work at and what they're comfortable at getting uncomfortable with.
Okay, yeah. And
Because we want them to get comfortable enough to get uncomfortable, but not get so uncomfortable that it's going to freak them out either, that the work is too much. So this is also understanding who I'm who I'm working with. Everyone's different. And I respect that.
yeah. And so, um, so then what kind of happens with, I mean, once they're at a part where they're able to get more and more comfortable with being uncomfortable, is there a part where you tell people to move on once they're at a spot or to, that, they're done or that they should go work with somebody else that you might refer them to? Does that
Mhm.
happen or is it just
Yeah.
everyone's kind of
All
their
right.
own
So that's a
pace?
really great question because obviously, there's a journey, and um, I have different programs, and obviously certain programs deal with certain parts of where you're at in your life. So say, for example, someone, who hasn't been able to attract the right type of, you know, partner in their life, and then doing the program with me, they actually, get to date the type of women that they want to date. And then in that, you know, process and program, they actually find the one. They've actually like, hey, this is going steady. I'm really enjoying her company. I've done all the work and whatever, whatever. However, there's another part to that relationship, and that is maintaining that relationship. Yeah. Letting that relationship flourish, growing with that person. And that's a whole nother area as opposed to just dating.
Right. That's a big difference.
Right. So a lot of my clients will then continue working with me. Obviously not, it depends. Again, some people, we may see each other every week, others maybe every second week or once a month. It depends. The programs that I offer are tailored specifically for individuals. There's no one size fits all at all.
Right, right. And I mean, so then are people, do you ever have people that are resistant to the work? Does that ever happen? And
Um,
I don't know why they would do that. It seems, like it's sort of self-sabotage type of a deal. People come in, there's like, nah, like that's not what. Why would that work? Or people usually pretty much at a point where they're like, I'll try anything right now to get help.
right. I think again, it goes back to where are they at in their pain point in their life? So if their pain point is, quite high and they've tried everything and, they've been through the wars and still struggling, but still believe in love, like still believe that they don't want to be on their own, well, then they're going to be open to working on themselves. Anyone that's resistant, um, I haven't experienced that because everyone that wants to work with me wants to work with me. So I
That's
actually
good.
haven't had that resistance, um, which is a great thing. And I'm very selective with who I work with as well. I'm not going to be working with anyone that is going to feel like it's an uphill climb and I have to, you know, feel like I'm just like pulling them along because it's not where their heart is. A lot of the times, my clients are really open and they're doing the work and they're challenged. Yes, they're challenged with what they're dealing with, what they're having to overcome certain emotions, dealing with certain vulnerabilities. That's different. That's a challenge that's just going to happen as you have breakthroughs, right?
Right.
But that's not a challenging, I don't want to do this. Like, this is just too much. No, and then we work through that challenge, whatever emotion, whatever's coming up for them. That means that that area needs to be healed. That area needs to be explored in a way that they're going to feel comfortable with it and not fear it.
Yeah. And so then what happens? Does it ever happen where they are then fearful of anything? And then do you just kind of back off at that point? Or does that ever happen? Not, or does that ever happen at all? Or people like you feel like maybe you're moving them too fast, or they think that you're moving them too fast? Or is everyone kind of receptive to being at the place
Um,
where you're guiding them?
yeah. Again, working closely with my clients, I can pretty much know where they're, and we have this dialogue happening, obviously, and there's feedback. So I'm going to know whether they're feeling, fearful. Usually it's not fear. It's not the fear. It's the other emotions that come up for them. And again, we just explore those emotions.
Yeah,
I look at them as they're just emotions. It's okay. It's like any other emotion, happiness, sadness. It's just an emotion.
and so then do you have an office, or are you working with people in person, or are you on zooming around the world, or
Yeah, I'm
both?
zooming around the world. I love it. I love it because, I don't need to be present. They just need to be present, as in present, but not physically present. They need
Right.
to, have a good internet connection, headphones preferably. So they're zoomed in. They can hear my voice right in to their ears. And yeah, that's all, which is wonderful. I don't need to touch them.
Yeah, I mean, you're uh, doing it through Zoom, and it's great. Like, and then they can be in their spot where they're comfortable. Like, no matter how nice and comfortable and inviting your office is, it might not be to somebody else, and they're not
Mm.
going to be as comfortable as they are at their. Maybe there's a few people who maybe have. Uh, a not so good situation going on at their home or, near their home or wherever they are. And being in an office could be a better thing, but then they can go somewhere else. I mean, they can, for the most
I mean,
part, like just,
I've had people that, are in their cars. They will sit in their car just to find a quiet spot.
yeah.
Um,
And
so
that's
it
cool.
doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter
And yeah, they,
where
they're
you
not,
are.
they're not stressed about having to drive over to somewhere to get there, or then, maybe I'm gonna be stuck in traffic on the way home and thinking about that. They're done, and then they're good. They're on their way, and it's a whole like barrier of extra, I don't know, extra barrier, I guess, just waiting to or that's just kind of unnecessary and not non-existent when they come in to meet with you. Then they're ready to work. And
Exactly.
yeah.
And I'll tell you another thing too, because it's not all therapy in that sense, but I have some men that need some help or would like some help with their attire, for example. So they take me shopping with them on their phone. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I'll help them, dress code them. They just try their clothes on. I'm there watching, like they then parade in the suits, colors, or whatever, and help them as I
H-
would if I went shopping with them in
How,
person. Obviously,
how
here in Melbourne, I can do it in person, but yeah, I've done it on Zoom.
how do you like that? That's an interesting it's like it's part of your job. It's not like the full part of your job, but like how is that? How do you like that? I mean, that's kind of an
I love
interesting thing
it.
to just like you gotta watch people
Creative.
do dress up and like, okay, yeah, put this on, like, oh yeah, that would be really cool to yeah, see what.
And hairstyles as well, Rusty. I'm a hairstylist. So, I know, you know, facial shapes and how to frame a face with the appropriate hairstyle. So I won't hold back and suggest maybe a different haircut.
So is that something that is when people look at your like beforehand, if they're checking you out and wanting to know to work with you, that like that's something that you offer, or is that something that just sort of pops up and it's like, oh hey, yeah, by the way, I do this.
Yeah, they're
What
my
is
bonuses. I have a lot of bonuses I offer in
cool?
my programs. So, I mean, that's an extra, and I'm qualified to do that. So that's an extra special thing, don't you think, as a
Yeah,
coach and
absolutely,
therapist? Um,
absolutely. Like, yeah, to be able
I'm
to have
pretty
that.
well versed and rounded from the physical right through to the mental and spiritual as well.
Yeah. And so then how would people find you to work with you in, either in person or online or anywhere in between? How would they do that?
Yes. Well, I do have a free guide that I would love your audience to download, and I'm sure you'll put it in the link. It's
Yeah, I
uh,
will.
free gift at thegentlemansquare.com, and Rusty will put it in the link. And it's a guide on the 5 keys to attract your ideal partner.
All
And it
right.
is a
Yeah.
guide, yeah, a guide, where a gentleman's guide to avoiding all the pitfalls when dating, avoiding all the pitfalls.
Uh,
So that's a free guide, and in
who-
there they'll be able to email me, join my men's Facebook group. I have a free men's Facebook group, all my social links and all my free content that they can get hold of, or get a hold of me.
Excellent. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Stefania. I really, yeah, appreciate getting to talk with you. And yeah, thanks for being flexible with the time and everything. And but you know, it's better than the whatever 24 hours it probably take for you to get there, me to get there. So like it's I'm happy with that compromise to be able to do that.
Likewise.
So yeah. Yeah, and hope you have a great rest of your day, however much time is
Thank
left
you.
you know, later in the day. But yeah, you're welcome. And
I
yeah,
appreciate being on your show. Thanks for the
absolutely
opportunity.
absolutely appreciate having you on. And yeah, we'll stay in touch, all right?
Okay.
All right, take care.
Bye.
All right, that's Stefania Puleo. So you guys hit her up. I'll give you stuff in the show notes to be able to do that and get her free guide. Free is a very good price. Tom Peterson said so. That's a Portland shout out right there. Tom Peterson, man. Yeah, yeah, free is a very good price. So, and I won't get into all the Tom Peterson lines here. So this could just be the Tom Peterson quote, line, whatever you want to call it. So thank you everybody for being here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. If you want to check anything out for me, rustydiamond.net is the place to go, or go to hypnosisisgreat.com. Remember the jingle. If you forget what it is, just think back to the beginning. You'll remember. And thank you everybody for being here. Very much appreciate it. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.